A very Merry Christmas to all our viewers as we welcome you to this bumper holiday episode of Tax Matters. Even as we are all enjoying this festive season in the midst of kith and kin, we must be reminded of the need to perform our civic obligations in the form of paying our taxes as and at when due. We do hope that you fight the returns and have equally remitted VAT for the month of November. This should have been done by the 21st day of December. Also due are companies' income tax, education tax, police trust fund levy, NASENI and NIDA levies for companies whose accounting year is July to June and are by law to file and pay companies' income tax by 31st December. Employers of labor are also reminded that monthly remittance of payee deductions from employees' emoluments are due by the 10th day of every month. This is due to the State Boss of Internal Revenue. Filing and remittance for December payee deductions are due on January 10, 2024. Make provisions for that now before you go on holiday. Don't be caught on the wrong side of the law. Payment of taxes is fundamental to the smooth running of any nation as it assists government in the provision of social amenities. We are all familiar with that passage of the good book that says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it." Of course, that resonates with us and our society at large. Towards this end, it has become imperative that the culture of taxation is ingrained in the young ones to equip them for tomorrow. From Wednesday the 15th to Thursday the 16th of November 2023, the FIRS collaborated with the Federal Ministry of Education to hold the maiden edition of Inter-Schools Debate Competition, which held at Queen's College, Yaba, Lagos. The objective of the competition was and is to create awareness on tax matters, build the students' competence, and provoke critical thinking among them. The debate was centered around 3 topics. The first was on tax is a necessity for national development in Nigeria. The second was on Nigeria is not ripe for the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, while the last topic was on digitalization of tax administration boosts revenue generation. 12 schools drawn from among Lagos state-based schools participated in the debate competition. At the end of the preliminaries, the 6 best performing schools were selected to participate in the final leg. For each of the topics, there were 3 speakers, but we'll be sharing with you the presentation of the chief speaker from the 6 schools which held on day 2 of the debate competition. Let's hear from the future leaders of our country.
I am here to oppose the motion which says tax is a necessity for national development in Nigeria. Going by my solid points. Firstly, agriculture. The agricultural sector contributes to a significant part of the country's gross domestic product. Between July and September 2021, the agricultural sector contributed to almost 30% of the country's gross domestic product. According to Wikipedia, more income is generated from agriculture, which has helped to contribute to lower levels of poverty in the rural areas. Furthermore, according to Food and Agricultural Organization, agriculture is the foundation for the economic growth of Nigerian development. Secondly, natural resources. Natural resources can also help boost our national development. Since the discovery of the oil field, the national resources oil exports have increased rapidly. Furthermore, natural resources is a primary source for foreign exchange and economic growth in the Nigerian economy. Thirdly, tourism. Tourism can also help boost our national development. Looking at countries like Dubai, where tourism account has and is still helping in boosting the national development. Do you know that many lower income countries have adopted national plans for tourism? Tourism is seen as a beneficial industry to look up to for some various reasons. One, tourism can operate on a variety of scales. Secondly, tourism can begin with a relatively little investment by just attracting a small group of explorers. Tourism is one of the world's largest industries, accounting for 10% of the global gross domestic product, 7% of global accounting, and 10% of the global trade. Lastly, sports. Sports can also help boost our national development. A good example is the Mater in Nairobi, Kenya, which strategizes the use of sports to bring hope to the lives of thousands of destitute children in the slums. Sports have helped in creating sustainable programs which slow down crime rates and make an impact on school dropouts. Considering the way agriculture, education, sports and tourism has helped in boosting other economic development. So I stand here to say that if the Nigerian economy can invest massively in education, agriculture, sports and tourism, so there is no way we will be able to rely solidly on tax.
Now to the proposing side.
The word tax, which was coined from the Latin word taxo and means I estimate, can be defined as a compulsory levy imposed by the government or its agencies on eligible individuals and firms on goods and services with the purpose of meeting the cost of its expenditure. In Nigeria, the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) is the legal agency charged with the responsibility of collecting tax on behalf of the federal government, while in Lagos State, the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service (LSIRS) collects taxes on behalf of the state government. I strongly believe tax is a necessity for economic development in Nigeria. To start with, tax is a major source of revenue generation in any given state. It should be noted that revenue generation is one of the characteristics of government. Hence, tax is proportional to economic development. Again, funds generated from taxes are instrumental for administrative purposes. For you will agree with me, kind of educators, that carrying out the routine administrative expenses in a modern government is not a joke, considering the various ministries, departments and agencies. Collection of taxes makes this easier for the government. In addition, it is an indisputable fact that provision of infrastructural facilities is one of the indicators of economic growth and national development in any country, including Nigeria. As a result of this, there are various areas in Nigeria that require urgent attention, such as good roads, healthcare facilities, establishment of more schools to augment the few available ones, to cater for the growing number of the country's population. Tax collection is a sure solution to this. For instance, educational tax is a 2% tax imposed on the income of all registered companies in Nigeria to fund the tertiary education trust fund, TET fund. Later on, this fund is used to finance developmental programs in tertiary education. Furthermore, provision of adequate social amenities such as affordable electricity, good water supply, among others, is a pointer to national development, which taxes guarantee. Besides, tax increases the GDP of a country, thereby boosting both the economic image and foreign policy of the country in the international environment. Furthermore, a well-organized and administered tax system go a long way in funding a nation's annual budget. For instance, the National Bureau of Statistics reported in 2022 that the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) generated a whopping sum of 10.1 trillion naira, while the Nigerian Customs Service (NCS) generated a jaw-dropping 2.60 trillion naira in revenue, which both accounted for 75% of the 2022 budget of 16.39 trillion naira. Panel of judges and attentive audience, this is laudable. In the light of the above, if nothing in this world can be said to be certain aside from debt and taxes, according to Benjamin Franklin, it therefore stands to reason that tax is a necessity for economic development in Nigeria.
It's getting interesting, isn't it? Is tax a necessity for national development in Nigeria? Where do you stand? This next set of speakers will be handling the topic on cashless policy. Is Nigeria ripe or not?
With the increment in the use of mobile phones in the country, with the increment in the use of internet in the country, the groundwork has been laid for the implementation of the cashless policy. Nigerian children use phones from age 6 and then grow up to become 18, and then immediately, instead of buying cars like they do abroad, they open an OPay account. That's their 18th birthday gift. But before I delve into why I believe so, I am Oke Abdurrahman, a representative of King's College Lagos, and I'm strongly opposing the motion that Nigeria is not ripe for the cashless policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Let me historically define the context of this cashless policy. In 2012, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, had addressed the citizens and put a daily limit or a daily fee on those that passed the withdrawal limit of 500,000 naira for individuals and 3 million naira for corporations and businesses respectively. In lieu of this, the view that Nigeria is not ripe for the cashless policy is totally fallacious. In 2013, it was expanded to 7 states. In 2014, it was expanded nationwide. In 2015, the government then realized that they didn't have the technological capability to do so. But in 2023, Nigeria has reached the pinnacle of technological achievement. The world has reached the pinnacle of technological achievement, and Nigeria should be able to do so. The first point I have is mobile internet access and penetration. According to Statista, about 147 million Nigerians have access to the internet. That's about 75% of the population. With this, the implementation of cashless policy should not be a major problem for them. I know we had some mistakes this year with the cashless policy. I do agree with my opponents on that. But the fact remains that there's a new administration, there's a new government, so there should be a new way for us to address this cashless policy. Secondly, financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is the involvement of a particular section of the population into the financial system of the economy, into the financial system of the nation. But with the involvement of these people, with the majority of Nigerians being youths, we're involving the future leaders of the country into today's business, into digital systems, into the cashless policy. Moreover, it reduces cash-related crimes and thefts. I live in the Ojoju Beggar axis. And when I'm staying there, when I'm coming to school, because I come to the TBS here, I use a carry card. Carry card is an example of a cashless policy. In fact, I know my opponent may say that corruption still happens in digital systems with the cashless policy, but the fact remains that the corruption happens is less because financial transactions never leave. The records never leave. You might delete your own transaction history, but what happens? The bank will still have the record. Look at the former military head of state, General Sani Abacha. Even years after his passing, his money is still being recovered and traced back those United States of America banks and being transferred back to Nigeria. Furthermore, it reduces the cost of transportation for financial exchange. Nobody is going to go to China to go and drop a Ghana must go, take, made in China, give me pencil. Take, made in China, give me products. No. Financial transfers can be made easily within 3 seconds using this cashless policy. Lastly, it reduces cost savings and increases efficient management. Did you know that according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, about 50 billion naira was used to print 1.06 trillion naira in 2020? Using money to print money is understandable, but we can find another solution to this problem by just trying to reduce the number or the flow of cash in our economy. Not just does it reduce cost savings, it also increases effectiveness of the policy for the nation. Businesses and individuals will have more money to use, more individuals will have less cash to use, and more money that can be kept in digital transfer systems, in digital forex systems. In conclusion, I agree with my opponent that last year and this year, there were mistakes made. But with the current administration, with the improvements in financial inclusion, improvements in efficiency, improvements in transparency, and so on, a lot can be done in ensuring, because Nigeria is already ripe for the cashless policy.
The first speaker has aired his views. Let's hear from the speaker from the proposing side.
Debating with a fixed mind before you is Oyinloye John, a student representative of Agiding Bishino Grammar School, strongly supporting the notion which states Nigeria is not ripe for the cashless policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Cashless can be said to operate without the need of cash. Policy is a principle of behavior expressed by the government or an authoritative government. While cashless policy can be said to be the operation without the need of cash because it is thought to be necessary and because it was implemented by the government. Nigeria is not ripe for a cashless policy because of the vast increase in naira, cybercrime, infrastructural challenges, and cultural preference, and also educational barrier. To really prove that Nigeria is not ripe for the cashless policy, I present to you my following points. To start with, the cashless policy was introduced in Nigeria in 2012, which makes them 11-year-old. And one of its objectives is to add value into the economy of Nigeria when there is scarcity of naira. Note, when there is scarcity of naira. But when the emergence of the present government came, there have been an increased release of naira. Furthermore, Nigeria, the giant of Africa, Nigeria, which has the richest economy in Africa, does not have a developed cybersecurity. So in absence of a developed cybersecurity, it is better to just disengage from cashless policy, because no one would want to lose his or her hard-earned money to fraud and hacking. Also, the Nigerian population, over 200 million, consists of the rural and urban areas. But the rural area has a higher percentage, covers a substantial proportion of the Nigerian population, which shows that any investment in Nigeria, more should be put in the rural areas. But in the case whereby the rural areas include village, many of these people in the village don't even know the meaning of cashless policy, which is preventing the effectiveness in Nigeria. So in conclusion, there needs to be a balance between a cash-driven economy and a cashless policy to ensure a standardized economy in Nigeria.
Another provoking one. On our part, we do believe that we are ripe, but a lot needs to be done. What do you think? We'll be glad to have you share your views with us on any of our social media platforms. We move on. This last set of speakers will be discussing the topic, digitalization of tax administration will boost revenue generation.
I'm here to oppose the motion which states digitalization of tax administration could boost revenue generation. Digitalization simply refers to converting of hard paper files into electronic files. Digitalization of tax administration can be an ideal solution for any developing country. However, let's not shy away from the truth. There are still many problems and challenges like illiteracy, cyber insecurity, lack of infrastructure, and no stable connection. For a country to digitalize, it requires majority of its citizens to be illiterate and computer savvy. According to a 2021 World Bank Development Report, it stated that presently 50% of Nigerian populations lack digital skills and are unable to utilize data services. The National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education stated that 60 million Nigerians cannot read and write. Digital machines are provided primarily in English form, whereas most Nigerians are comfortable in transacting business in their first languages, such as Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and even in Pidgin English. Furthermore, digitalization that we so much praise cannot function without adequate infrastructure or no stable connection. Access to internet connection has been challenges to many places across the country, like especially in the rural areas. Like in some places, you would have to walk to and fro before getting internet connection. Electricity has also been a critical infrastructure for an efficient digitalization of tax. Sadly, Nigerians cannot boast of a steady power supply across its rural area. So it is the same country that doesn't have enough steady power supply across its rural area that wants to adopt digitalization of tax. Furthermore, digitalization of tax has given fraudsters opportunity to abuse the privilege of ICT. The year 2023 witnessed a 156% increase in global data breaches. According to Surfshark, every minute 855 accounts are still being hacked into. So foreign countries such as America, their accounts are still being hacked, not to talk more of less of Nigeria, where we don't have enough infrastructure or facilities to track these fraudsters. In conclusion, my opponents argue that digitalization of tax administration boosts revenue generation, but let's also consider some of the negative consequences.
And then to the last speaker.
To digitalize any system means to implement technological advancement into said system for the purpose of increasing efficiency and accuracy of the operation of that system. To digitalize the tax administration system in any country means to implement modern technological factors into the day-to-day operation of said tax administration, that is the collection of tax and distribution of tax funds across the country. Now, the motion here tells us that if we do adequately implement this technology into tax administration in any country, we will see an increase in the amount of money that country generates from tax every year, thereby increasing yearly revenue for said country. My points to support the motion are as follows. Increase in efficiency management of said operation. If a technology is implemented into any operation and it does not increase the efficiency of said operation, then that technology has failed in its purpose. Increase in accuracy and decrease in human errors. According to the IRS, International Revenue Service of the United States, that is the body responsible for the tax administration of the United States of America, they saw a decrease of over 20% of human errors when they implemented digitalization into the tax administration system. This means that over 20% of all transactions related to tax administration in our country resulted in errors because of the inefficiency of human management. When they saw an implementation in digitalization of this administration, we saw that this number reduced from 20% all the way to 0.5%, which led to a 20% decrease in human errors and a 20% increase in efficiency and accountability and accuracy of said tax administration. Every other modern day country, first world country, has seen the benefit of digitalization in every aspect of the operation of that country, tax being no exception. Nigeria needs to be a country, if we ever want to meet the standards of first world country and boldly acclaim that we are indeed the giant of Africa and one day hopefully being a giant of the world, contesting countries like China, Switzerland, and of course our brothers and sisters in the United States. Digitalization of tax administration is the only way we can see this as a realistic factor if we do eventually come onto this problem. Real-life examples of the importance of digitalization in tax administration. The motion is asking here today whether digitalization of tax administration will improve revenue generation. This is less of a question, more of a discussion, because we've already seen in every other country, like the United States mentioned before, that digitalization of their tax administration did improve their revenue generation. Even countries like Estonia, a second world developing country, saw a 12% increase in compliance and accountability rates when they implemented digitalization in their tax administration. Even the World Bank, the bank that is responsible for all global transactions of any country that deals with international financial transactions, advises every single country to implement digitalization in their tax administration because they themselves have believed that digitalization of tax administration will improve revenue generation. In conclusion, since technology is any implementation that increases efficiency and risk and accountability and accuracy of any operation, we can boldly say that digitalization of the tax administration will indeed improve revenue generation.
Wow! We believe these young ones will go places. Before we bring you the results of the debate competition, permit us to share with you what transpired at the opening ceremony, which took place on Wednesday, the 15th of November 2023. Welcoming participants to the inter-school debate competition was Mr. Kennedy Dongo, Deputy Director, Basic Education, Federal Ministry of Education. The Executive Chairman FRS, Dr. Zacchaeus Adedeji, was ably represented by the State Coordinator, Lagos Mainland East, Mr. Olufemi Oyebanji.
It is our expectation that this competition will provide a platform for every one of us to grow the future leaders of this country in terms of their competence in public speaking, in terms of their culture, their alignment to the expectation of every person in the country as to their civic responsibility of taxation.
Mrs. Oyindamola Adetutu is the Director Principal, Queen's College, Yaba.
The topics before us, dwelling on payment of tax, the digitalization of the payment, and cashless society are very important topics for where we are in Nigeria today. Because I know that out of everything you are going to say today, you are going to get some insights into how to move this nation forward.
The keynote address was delivered by Mrs. Edith Osoyin-Eju, Deputy Director, Junior Secondary Education, Federal Ministry of Education.
This is the maiden edition of the Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Inland Revenue Service Inter-School Debate Competition, an act because of the need to create awareness and enlighten the populace on tax matters for better service delivery. This is in line with the objectives of the National Policy on Education, which emphasizes all-round education for our youth. This would also assist the students have improved communication skills, equipped with competencies in public speaking, and having broad perspective on topical and current issues in Nigeria and global village.
At the end of the debate, gifts and certificates were presented to all the students who participated in the debate competition. The best speaker for the debate competition was also recognized and awarded. And now to the moment we all have been waiting for. At the end of the debate competition, King's College Lagos came third, Agidingbi Senior Grammar School came second, while Federal Government College Ijaniki carried the day. We had fun, and we are sure you did, even as you have been further educated and enlightened on taxation. Once again, Merry Christmas and do have a prosperous year 2024. See you in 2024. Bye for now.